Deadliest Catch is far more than just a reality series. It became a television phenomenon that redefined how audiences viewed survival-based shows. Among American reality series, it is one of the rare few that has truly stood the test of time, carving out a permanent place as one of the best in its genre. Over the years, fans have consistently applauded the cast, not only for their resilience but also for their raw authenticity. Yet behind the scenes, not everything was smooth sailing. Tensions began to surface, and a storm was brewing that almost threatened to end Deadliest Catch, altogether largely due to Edgar Hansen. What exactly did Hansen say or do that placed the future of the series in jeopardy? That's the story worth uncovering. From the very beginning, Deadliest Catch proved why Alaskan crab fishing is widely considered the most dangerous job in the world. The series first premiered on the Discovery Channel on April 12, 2005, and it immediately stood out as something different. It chronicled the lives of crab fishermen aboard various vessels in the unforgiving Bering Sea during the Alaskan king crab and snow crab fishing seasons. Dutch Harbor, located in the Aleutian Islands, became the central hub for these fishermen and their fleets. Produced exclusively for Discovery, the show quickly rose to prominence and became one of the most acclaimed programs on the network. The title itself, Deadliest Catch, came directly from the life-threatening risks of injury or death that fishermen faced every time they went out to sea. The show didn't just highlight fishing, it captured the endless dangers of the job. Fishermen constantly battled heavy crab pots swinging across slippery decks, wrestled hundreds of pounds of crab in hazardous conditions, and leaned precariously over railings to position traps all while facing gale-force winds and towering waves. What made the show more gripping was its commitment to authenticity. Even camera crews weren't spared from these dangers, often risking their lives just to capture real footage. Each episode typically focused on a unique theme or story playing out on one or more boats. These storylines hooked viewers by offering suspense, drama, and deeply human moments. At the same time, the show often ran side stories, focusing on individual crew members, particularly the Greenhorns rookies trying to survive their first brutal seasons at sea. The captains also became central figures in the storytelling, showcasing their leadership styles, camaraderie, and rivalries. Fans loved the drama between captains such as Sig Hansen of the FV Northwestern and Jonathan and Andy Hillstrand of the FV Time Bandit. Family bonds were another recurring theme, like the Hansen brothers' connection aboard the Northwestern, or the Coburn brothers on the Wizard. These rivalries, partnerships, and family dynamics added depth, making the show not just about fishing, but about human relationships forged under extreme pressure. People also appreciated the series because it never sugarcoated how dangerous crab fishing truly was. Records confirm that Alaskan crab fishing ranks as one of the most perilous professions in the world. To support crews, U.S. Coast Guard helicopters were stationed at Integrated Support Command Kodiak and on St. Paul Island, ready for frequent rescues. Their missions were often filmed for the series, such as when they responded to the tragic losses of vessels like the FV Big Valley in January 2005 and the FV Ocean Challenger in October 2008. These real-life tragedies underscored the show's title and gave audiences an unfiltered look at the harsh reality of life on the Bering Sea. Not another reason Deadliest Catch stood out was its format. Unlike many reality shows, it had no on-camera host. Instead, narration provided seamless transitions between storylines and boats. Initially, Discovery planned for Mike Rowe to appear as the host, but midway through production of the first season, he chose to commit to another show, Dirty Jobs. This forced Deadliest Catch to move forward without a host, and surprisingly, it worked even better. Rowe still lent his voice as the narrator for North American airings, while in the UK, Bill Petrie filled that role. Later, Rowe returned for After the Catch, a behind-the-scenes roundtable series where captains reflected on their experiences. Fans loved this format, proving that the lack of a traditional host was never a weakness but an innovation. Of course, being a raw documentary-style program, the producers constantly battled with censorship challenges. The show was rated TV 214 for strong language, But the reality of life on the boats meant profanity and sometimes graphic injuries were unavoidable. Producers frequently had to pixelate gestures, blur images, and replace profanity with creative sound effects instead of traditional bleeps. Despite these hurdles, audiences appreciated the authenticity and accepted the rough edges as part of the reality. Music also played a role in shaping the show's identity. In its early years, the iconic Bon Jovi song Wanted Dead or Alive served as the theme, perfectly matching the tone of danger and resilience. It became a fan favorite, though eventually, licensing changes forced its removal after season 11. Even so, by then the show had already cemented its reputation. Beyond entertainment, Deadliest Catch had an educational side. It taught viewers about commercial fishing, an occupation the Bureau of Labor Statistics once ranked as the most fatal in the U.S. With a death rate nearly 75% higher than logging or aviation, the pilot episode even revealed that during the king crab season, the death rate averaged nearly one fisherman per week. Injuries were so common that crews reported nearly 100%. Injury rates due to harsh weather and heavy machinery. The show also captured a turning point in Alaskan fishing. Its first season documented the last year of derby-style fishing, where fleets raced against time to catch as much crab as possible. Later seasons followed the quota system, allowing crews to work at a safer, more sustainable pace. While the change improved safety, it also reduced the number of boats in the fleet, forcing many smaller operations out of business. The shift was controversial, but Deadliest Catch captured it in real time. Adding yet another layer of storytelling, the portrayal of the fishermen themselves was another key to the show's success. Viewers watched as greenhorns were hazed, pushed to their limits, and sometimes outright bullied by veteran deckhands. These moments, while controversial, reflected the harsh reality of survival in such an unforgiving environment. There were even explosive confrontations, such as a greenhorn attacking a veteran crew member or defying his captain. Moments that always ended with immediate dismissal once the boats returned to port. Fans debated these incidents, but they undeniably made for gripping television. Filming. The series was just as dangerous for the production crew as it was for the fishermen. In the early seasons, camera operators with little experience at sea often found themselves in life-threatening situations. Captain Sig Hansen once revealed that he saved a cameraman's life by screaming at him to move, just seconds before a 900-pound crab pot swung into his path. Other incidents included cameramen falling through open hatches and sustaining broken ribs. Despite these dangers, crews kept filming, bound by both duty and tradition. Behind the scenes, tensions sometimes escalated into dramatic moments. In Season 4, Captain Keith Coburn of The Wizard ordered cameras off during a heated argument with his brother Monty, but their microphones were still live. The entire exchange was recorded and aired. That same season, Captain Phil Harris of the Cornelia Marie tried to conceal a painful injury from his crew, asking cameramen not to reveal it so he could keep fishing. His health struggles later became a major storyline, showing how closely intertwined the production crew and fishermen's lives had become. By Season 5, emotional and tragic moments also shaped the narrative. For example, the camera crew aboard the Northwestern was asked not to film when Jake Anderson learned of his sister's death. The crew respected his privacy, showing that while the series thrived on drama, it also carried deep respect for the real lives of those involved. In late September 2010, news broke that 3 of the central captains of Deadliest Catch, the Hillstrom brothers, Andy and Jonathan, along with Sig Hansen, would no longer be returning to the series. The reason was serious. Discovery Communications had launched legal action against the Hillstroms, sparking uncertainty about the show's future. For a while, it seemed like the captain's era on the series had come to an abrupt end. But after weeks of negotiation, a resolution was finally reached. On October 8, 2010, Discovery announced that an agreement had been made, and the 3 captains would indeed return for the 7th season. The crew and fans were relieved, but just as things seemed to be looking up, tragedy struck the Deadliest Catch family. That tragedy was the heartbreaking loss of Captain Phil Harris, a beloved figure both on and off screen. On January 29, 2010, while filming for Season 6 aboard the FV Cornelia Marie at St. Paul Island, Harris suddenly collapsed. Earlier that day, he had mentioned feeling unusually tired and had gone to his stateroom to grab his pain medication. While there, he suffered a massive stroke. He remained on the floor for a long time before finally being discovered by second-year engineer Steve Ward. When Ward found him, Phil was still conscious, but unable to move the left side of his body. Ward quickly called for paramedics and rushed to get Phil's sons, Josh and Jake, to his side. Even in that critical state, Phil's dedication to the show never wavered. According to Deadliest Catch producer Tom Beers, Harris insisted that the camera crews keep filming. In an interview with journalist Kate O'Hare, Beers revealed that Phil wanted his story captured in full, especially the unbreakable bond between him and his sons. Harris told them, "Dude, you've got to have an end to the story about the strength and resiliency of familial bonds, especially the father-son bond. You want to film this? Film this," respecting his wishes. The crew continued filming as Harris was airlifted to Anchorage, Alaska, where doctors performed emergency brain surgery to relieve swelling in his skull. Phil fought hard for 11 days in the ICU. But on February 9, 2010, he passed away due to complications from the stroke. His death devastated not only his family, but also the entire Deadliest Catch community. At his funeral, the Soul Rebels brass band honored him with a traditional New Orleans-style jazz performance, which was later shown on After the Catch. His loss left an irreplaceable hole in the hearts of viewers and crew alike. Meanwhile, production of Deadliest Catch was demanding and costly. Discovery revealed that each vessel carried a two-person film crew who lived and worked aboard during filming. Most of the series was shot with handheld Sony HVR Z5U and HVR Z7U HDV cameras, one stationed on the deck, the other in the wheelhouse. In addition, 4 stationary cameras were permanently mounted around the ships, recording constantly. To capture shots outside the vessels, producers used helicopters and chase boats, starting in Season 1 with the FV Time Bandit as the main chase vessel. The crew didn't stop there. They pushed innovation, using underwater cameras, including one mounted inside a crab pot in Season 2 to provide a crab's eye view. By Season 3, they introduced a submersible watercraft for underwater shots. Later, during Season 9's Behind the Lens special, the crew even employed divers stationed at the bottom of Dutch Harbor to film the king crab fleet departure, as well as a helicopter outfitted with a belly-mounted turret camera, the same type used in the James Bond film Skyfall. Sound was another challenge. Fishermen wore wireless microphones while shotgun mics were mounted on cameras. Due to limited space aboard, audio mixers weren't carried on the boats, so most sound cleanup happened in post-production. Even though cameras were carefully waterproofed, they were often damaged by ice, saltwater corrosion, or accidents. Captain Edgar Hansen of the Northwestern even served as a technical advisor to producers, helping balance realism with the demands of television. But behind the drama of fishing and filming, Deadliest Catch also faced scandals. Edgar Hansen, Sig's younger brother and deck boss of the Northwestern, became one of the show's most controversial figures. At first, fans admired Edgar for his skills, quick wit, and steady presence. But everything changed when, while still part of the show, he was arrested for sexually assaulting a minor. The news shocked fans. Many initially believed it was a false accusation. But in court, Edgar pleaded guilty. Court documents revealed that Edgar received a 364-day suspended jail sentence, was fined $1,653, and was ordered to undergo a sexual deviance evaluation and treatment program. The details were disturbing. His 16-year-old victim, identified as Jane Doe, told her therapist about the assault, which took place at a home in Mount Lake Terrace, Washington. On September 30th, she described the trauma it left her with, and Edgar later admitted he had kissed and touched her without consent. In a handwritten statement, he expressed remorse, writing, "I committed this crime for my own desires. I am very sorry for that conduct, and I have commenced treatment to ensure that nothing like this incident ever happens again." The fallout was swift. Fans who once admired him turned against him, furious and heartbroken. Although Discovery refused to comment publicly, Edgar quietly faded from the show. His disappearance allowed his niece, Mandy Hansen. To step up and carry on the family legacy aboard the Northwestern, the Hansen name had always been central to Deadliest Catch. Sig Hansen, who had been fishing since his youth, rose to fame as the face of the show. Their father, a Norwegian immigrant, had fished since the 1940s and bought the Northwestern in 1977, making it a family treasure for Edgar. The sea was in his blood. He had spent nearly 3 decades on the Northwestern before Deadliest Catch even began. Compared to Sig, Edgar was more laid back, but his presence brought balance and humor to the crew. For years, he was a vital part of the storyline. However, his relationship with Sig was often tense. Edgar once recalled slicing open his arm to the bone while cutting bait, an injury he laughed off as a badge of honor. But for Sig, losing fishing time to take his brother ashore for treatment proved the boat always came first. On screen, their clashes became heated, with Sig often belittling Edgar's decisions, even bringing up his sobriety during arguments. Yet Edgar's scandal wasn't the only controversy. The series has long been shadowed by off-camera struggles. In 2010, crewman Matthew Schneider was arrested in a major Alaska drug bust. Nick Maver, another young and talented deckhand, later lost his job to substance use and tragically died from an overdose 3 years later. Blake Painter, captain of the Maverick who appeared in the show's first 2 seasons, also died in 2018 from an apparent overdose. In 2011, Justin Tennyson, a deckhand from the Time Bandit, was found dead in a hotel room, adding to the long list of painful losses linked to the series through triumphs and tragedies. Deadliest Catch has shown not only the brutal reality of crab fishing, but also the heavy toll it takes on those who live it. The show's legacy is built on raw stories of survival, family bonds, human flaws, and the relentless sea that spares no one. Despite the controversies, Deadliest Catch continued to thrive, cementing itself as one of Discovery Channel's most iconic reality series. The appeal came not only from the raw danger of crab fishing, but also from the personal stories of the captains and crew. Viewers connected deeply with the Hansen family, the Hillstrands, and other fishermen who risked their lives season after season on the unforgiving Bering Sea. These men weren't actors, they were real fishermen whose struggles, triumphs, and tragedies played out in front of millions. The Hansen family remained at the center of much of the drama. Sig Hansen, the steadfast captain of the Northwestern, became a household name, admired for his toughness and sharp instincts. His niece, Mandy Hansen, also began carving her place in the family legacy. For Mandy, fishing was not just a job, but a continuation of the Hansen tradition, one that had started with her grandfather in Norway decades earlier. With Edgar's absence from the show, she stepped into a greater role, proving to fans and family alike that she could handle the grueling life of a Bering Sea fisherman. However, keeping the show running wasn't easy. Behind the scenes, the production team faced constant challenges. The Bering Sea's unpredictable weather battered not only the fishermen, but also the film crews. Cameras frequently froze, corroded, or broke due to saltwater exposure, and replacements had to be shipped at high cost. Crew members filmed in cramped, dangerous conditions, often seasick themselves. While trying to capture the chaos of hauling crab pots in storms, at times helicopters hovered dangerously close to vessels to get dramatic shots, and chase boats risked swells to keep up. The physical and financial strain of producing Deadliest Catch was immense, but the end result was television that felt real and raw. Unfortunately, the dangers of the sea and the pressures of life off the boats led to more heartbreaks. Beyond Phil Harris, whose death left a lasting scar, other cast members faced tragic ends. Deckhands, engineers, and even captains struggled with the toll of the lifestyle. Substance abuse, arrests, and mental health battles became recurring headlines that reminded fans how high the cost of fame and fishing could be. For instance, the death of Justin Tennyson in 2011 stunned viewers. As a deckhand for the Time Bandit, Justin had shown dedication and toughness. Yet he was found dead in his hotel room at only 33 years old. Later, the news of Blake Painter's passing in 2018 only deepened the sense of loss. Painter, once captain of the Maverick, was remembered for his strong personality and commitment to fishing. His death, linked to an overdose, was a sobering reminder of the dark paths some cast members struggled with away from the cameras. The same applied to Nick Maver, whose struggles with substance use ended in tragedy. Once known for his enthusiasm and hard-working nature, Nick's downfall and untimely death crushed many fans who had admired him in the early seasons. These stories underscored that, while Deadliest Catch showcased the thrill of the hunt for crab, it also carried the weight of human vulnerability, where the sea wasn't the only battle the fishermen faced. Despite all the storms, scandals, and sorrows, Deadliest Catch persisted, season after season. The show's lasting power came from its authenticity. Viewers tuned in not just for the drama of the sea, but also to see the bonds between fathers and sons. Brothers and crewmates tested and strengthened in ways only such a brutal environment could demand. The Hansen family, the Hillstrands, the Harrises, and countless other fishermen became part of a living saga, one of survival, family pride, and resilience against impossible odds.